Hello and welcome to Champagne Football, the show in which your hosts get drunk and slur their opinions on the footballing events of the past week. Unfortunately, today Becky's not with us. She's not been feeling too well lately, but I think she'll be back next week. But anyway, we just hope she gets well, but it's nothing serious, so you'll hear her voice soon enough. But ready to swoop in like a pair of vultures and take her place, we have Ben Chappell as usual. How you doing, Ben?
Doing well, swooping in like a vulture. I'm hungry to get the scraps here. So.
Oh, yeah. And making his debut on the pod, we have Mr. Inam. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. So, as ever, we're going to start by comparing our drinks to, well, actually, no, we've got a unique perspective on things this time around because we're going to go, instead of a club, we're going to compare it to a footballer. So, Ben, what are you drinking, mate?
I've got a little Chardonnay that I picked up from the off-license down around the corner from the south part of Chile. So I'm going to rock with, I think, Alexis Sanchez.
Of course.
And, well, the obvious connection is the Chilean connection. But, I mean, on the surface, this is a pretty good-looking bottle of Chardonnay, just like Alexis Sanchez. You know, he's a tasty prospect to throw into your front three if you need a little quick injection of creativity.
Yeah.
But once you taste this Chardonnay, man, it's not the best. Just like Sanchez's last two outings at United and Inter, he hasn't had the biggest impact. So I think it's the perfect comparison there.
Yes, definitely not Barcelona, Udinese, and Arsenal Alexis Sanchez. It's latter-day Sanchez.
Yeah, no, I would like to make that distinction. It is not Arsenal Sanchez. It is post-Arsenal Sanchez.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm drinking Strongbow Dark Fruits, which I think a lot of people will criticize that drink. I understand why, but I quite like it, which is why I'm going to compare it to Matteo Guendouzi, an Arsenal player who I think rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but I'm very
Certainly me.
Yeah, Yuppie does not like it. Yeah, what do you guys think? Guendouzi? Strongbow?
Yeah. I mean, Poppy, easy to go to ground. I think that's a fair assessment that it is Guendouzi.
Yeah, man, it puts me to ground easy when I've had enough cans.
I don't 100% agree with that. I think he's a bit of a bulldog in midfield, but I'll let it slide.
I mean, he is 19, so he's got a lot of time to develop, but shows
I guess
promising signs sometimes.
19-year-old Strongbow, that kind of goes together.
Exactly.
I think one of his best moments is when he came on against Tottenham and he kind of took the game by the scruff of the neck. I think that shows his character.
Yeah,
it's a French bulldogness in him. So
yeah, he has that two parts of the game, like the real scrappy, like can grab the game by the scruff of the neck, but also he definitely does go to ground a bit easy. And anyway, Yuppie, we come to you.
Well, I've broken the biggest rule of them all. It's kind of like scoring the sweaty goal on FIFA, or when the goalkeeper passes it to you and you just be a dick and you score. So I've resulted for some tea tonight. It's rooibos tea.
He's been found out.
It's rooibos tea. It's one of the greatest South African imports ever, or exports, and one of the greatest exports of South African ever in footballing terms. It's definitely Benny McCarthy.
Yeah.
Fantastic striker, like the rooibos tea liked when he in his early days. Fantastic finisher, Champions League winner, AFCON winner. So 100%, I'm gonna go for Benny.
It's a great player, but it's not alcohol. You're lucky we're social distancing. Human.
I'm surprised you didn't rock up on the pod with a bottle of Prosecco, man.
Oh, man, I wish. This quarantine is killing me, bro. It's like, it's been bad, man. I can't wait to get outside. Honestly.
All right, moving on. So, for those who don't know, Yuppie is a Barcelona fan. And obviously that club, I mean, there's been a lot going off during this period. So tell us a bit more about that, Yuppie.
I mean, first of all, the season we could say the season's ended, but when Valverde got sacked and Setien came in, there was a lot of promising signs. You know, same mentality in terms of coaching as Guardiola, Cruyff, all of those guys. So things are looking up for once in the last couple of years. But with this coronavirus situation, the board, there's been a very big line drawn between the players and the board because the board have been silly leaking stuff to the media, getting the papers in Barcelona to put pressure on the team, and which has resulted in the end Messi coming out and making a big statement. You guys saw it on Instagram,
Yeah.
and agreeing that the players are taking a 70% pay cut. I think it's very unfair on the players. I think if people are getting let go in terms of staff, I think it's very unfair that the club can still. I mean, 70% is a lot, huh? So
Yes.
it's not like 20%, 30%. It's not deferrals. They're actually cutting it, and because it's easy because Barcelona is a fan-owned club, so it's like there's socios, so it's easy to say we're saving money, but it just depends where all the money goes. So there was that, and they try to. The club has no money,
Yes.
so what they're doing is they're trying to cut costs wherever possible. So it's also be getting rid of players on big contracts like Rakitic, Arturo Vidal. But now in the papers, Inter Milan striker Lautaro Martinez, I think he's rumored to be coming to the Camp Nou soon, and he wants to come, and he's willing. He doesn't care what money it is because he'll be playing with his fellow countryman Messi. So it's just that, man. It's just a big drama because there's a lot of mishandling of money, and they just got to sort it out basically.
Yeah. How would the players feel if they've taken all these cuts and then that money is essentially just used to buy like a big signing like Martinez or to bring Neymar back or somebody like that? It's kind of strange, you think?
Yeah, well, 100%, man. Like I feel like if clubs are doing this in England as well, the FA should be saying, okay, you're banned from transfers for 1 season
Yeah.
or 2 seasons. But I'm talking about the big clubs. I know the small clubs is going to be hard, but if you're taking money from the players, it means you have no money. And if you go buy a player for 20 million, 30 million odd, it's a bit dodgy. So I mean, it'll be fantastic if Lautaro comes and it's a player swap, or Rakitic and Semedo, for example, go the other way to Inter Milan, or Dembele. I wouldn't want that, but
But what are they going to
they
do?
can.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
Because they'll have like Griezmann, Suarez, Messi. So surely Griezmann or Suarez has to go then. To the
Yeah, I mean, Suarez is. I
He's
mean,
better.
he's a fantastic player, man. For his age, his returns is still phenomenal. I mean, so but the thing is, he can't play 70 games a season, so they need another number 9, and for Griezmann to play on the wing, and so the best front three at the moment is Messi, Griezmann, and Suarez, because Dembele is out as well for a couple of months. So, but Messi is getting old, and the best he operates the best when he's is in the middle, as in the 10 role, in the free roam. So, and Griezmann is the exact same player. So they just need to sort out the dynamics, man. But I personally think if you get another striker in, a guy that can play on the wing, a guy that can play as the number 9, I think it's a perfect acquisition. But it just depends on the whole dynamics of the team, basically.
Yeah.
What do you see as the most likely acquisition?
I think Lautaro Martinez with a player swap. I think if they can get Rakitic to go the other way, him and maybe another right back. But I don't see Neymar coming back to the club. I mean, he's still got the court case going on. It's just too much drama, and it's a lot of money too. I think PSG will be very, very difficult in order to let them go. I think for him, the greed and his father's influence on him has kind of ruined his career, because he went to PSG
Yeah.
to get away from Messi's shadow, and they just got Mbappe, and he's coming off the back of a World Cup, so he's in a very difficult situation. And I think having Brazilian players in Barca like Arthur, I think it makes him miss where he's left, and he had a very good relationship with Messi, of course. So I just think he really wants to come back, and he regrets leaving. But I mean, if there's still a court case on, that means he doesn't want to be a Barca player.
And also we have to think transfer prices might change. They might be completely different. You know, Neymar move for 200 million, but the odds of like any club being able to spend that when the transfer market opens again, that will change everything. I don't know. Do you think prices will change significantly?
I think the big clubs are going to spend the big money, man. I think lower down the pecking order, I think there could be a certain understanding.
Mm.
But I think what do you think PSG are going to let Neymar off for 80 million, 70 million? It's impossible.
That's the thing.
No, room class players will retain their value, I think, like the likes of Neymar and such. But I've also heard some rumors coming out of the Barcelona camp. I don't know how true this is, of a potential swap with Tottenham for Ndombele.
I mean,
potentially being involved. What do you make of that?
I've been seeing that a lot as well, and I think it makes sense why they go for that type of profile. And I think this last season, it's made a lot of people kind of lift their nose at his ability. I think his failure to be fit and his treatment, the treatment of Mourinho on him, I don't think it's not deserved. But I think there's a very, very good player there, and we saw that in the Champions League for Leon. And I think if Barca got him, he would be a fantastic player. But it's just where does he play? Because
do you think he starts for Barcelona, or do you think he has to earn his spot?
Yeah, the thing for him is a very technical player, but I don't think he can start because Busquets still got a couple of years in him. They've just spent a lot of money on Frankie De Jong. They got young players like Ricky Puig and Carles Alenia coming through as well, and they've got Rakitic, who's done a lot of money, so they have to play him. So I just think the midfield situation at Barca right now is very, very complicated, and I think it's very important for Setien to kind of make a decision on who he picks as his midfield three.
Yeah, I don't see Ndombele coming in until they maybe move on somebody like Rakitic. I don't think there's room for him to come in yet.
They're in an interesting spot. I think back to the Bulls documentary, actually. They've got this core of players. I'm thinking Piqué, Busquets, and Messi, who are getting into the twilight of their career, and it's kind of a tough decision whether they keep rocking with these guys or if they move on, or are they going to build around these guys? Like, are they going to look for replacements? It's Barcelona are in an interesting position right now.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because what do you do? These guys they're more like the untouchables they're the core. They won the 6 cups. They won the World Cup. They won the Champions Leagues, and they were there at the height of one of the greatest Barcelona teams ever. Besides obviously the dream team, but it's just Messi is a big attraction for players.
Yeah,
everyone wants to play with Messi, and I think with Piqué, he's coming towards the end of his career, and he's not fully focused on football. He's got business ventures.
His wife,
like his wife Shakira, but that shouldn't be a problem. And he's got the Davis Cup and the tennis, so I think it's very difficult. But they have to make a decision, man. Who runs the club, the players or the board? And that's what they're gonna. That's a decision they have to make.
The biggest problem, or one of the biggest problems, is the fact that the board and the players are so not aligned, and they seem to be sparring with each other all the time. So it could be complicated in the future.
There's another piece of news that I meant to ask you about. I saw that they're going to auction off the naming rights for the stadium, the Camp Nou, for the first time ever, and use the revenue that's generated from that to donate towards coronavirus relief. What do you make of that?
I think there's other ways you can donate to coronavirus. I think renaming a stadium like that is a big thing. It's like renaming Anfield or the Santiago Bernabeu. So I don't think I think it's just another way of the board trying to get under people's skins.
I think
threatening to. It doesn't sit well with me that they will.
It seems like an act of desperation to me.
Yeah.
It's some sort of PR move. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I know that Barcelona's kind of been shrouded in this PR battle for the past year and a half now. So I don't know if that's some sort of move to get back on the good side of the public eye, but it was definitely a head scratcher for me.
For me, I felt like it was definitely like a PR move, and one that perhaps they risked, because if you renamed that stadium to the Strongbow Arena or whatever you want to call it, people are still going to refer to it. I don't think people are going to refer to it as the Strongbow Arena. Do you know what I mean? That's just going to be its official sponsor name, but people are still going to call it Camp Nou. So I think, yeah.
Budweiser Stadium. Dude, it makes me cringe, man. It's such a legendary venue. If I was a Barcelona fan, I would be so upset that they even considered that.
I don't think they'll do it though.
They went through with that.
We'll see. All right, so moving from beautiful Barcelona to less beautiful Newcastle. No offense, but that club, a lot's going on this week. You know, they might have a new owner. Ben, what are your thoughts about that?
As an American, it's a little bit unsettling, I would say. I mean, this ownership group are the same guys that murdered and dismembered an American journalist. So, not a very moral group. It's a corrupt group that's taking over Newcastle, but I would imagine that for the fans, it's a tough position as well, because obviously they've really struggled the past, however many years with Mike Ashley. So they really want an owner to take over and really invest in the club. But at the same time, a lot of, fans don't want to have that negative side to it. So it really is a tough double-edged sword, I would say.
Well, it makes me think that it shouldn't be up to the fans, because you're right. It's totally unfair to make some guy who's grown up supporting Newcastle, and suddenly he has to be sort of a moral philosophist about, whether or not, this guy's right to come and can own his club. But surely somebody high above, the Premier League, whoever it is who says you can buy this club, like the fit and proper persons test that they have to pass. Like, we all know that they're not a moral, they fail. So I don't know why they're allowed to come and.
There's a price for everything, man. And when you've got as much money as these guys do, unfortunately, I think that morals kind of go out the window.
Yeah. Thoughts, Yappy?
I mean, I think Callum Broom in his article today for the Sports Gazette.
Shout out to Callum. Read that article on the Sports Gazette.
I think he put it perfectly. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The fans have been upset with Ashley for a while, and now they've got these guys that just want to inject cash into the club, but they're just terrible people. Or allegedly they have done questionable things in the past. But and over the last season, Ashley has spent a bit of money when he got Joe Linton for £39 million. He got Saint Maximum. He's shown signs for 16 million, and obviously it's just a tough situation for fans. Because what do you boys think if you were Arsenal and a Saudi Arabian man came and wanted to buy the whole thing up, and you had a questionable past? Or how would you guys feel?
Personally, I hate the Kroenkes, and they're billionaires, which is immoral for other reasons, just that amount of wealth. But that's where you have to be to own a modern day Premier League football club. So if you had an unknown group come in, but you knew that they were of a shady background, then I think you definitely start to question it. But at the same time, you just feel, what can I do? I'm still going to support Arsenal because I love the club so much. But I like to think that I would be quite outspoken and sort of do my bit to protest the takeover, regardless of whether or not they were going to inject X amount of money. But yeah, Ben?
That's the thing. If you've been a fan for years and you've got this emotional connection built up with the club, I don't think that an ownership takeover can really change that. Football goes a lot deeper than that. We all know this, being hardcore football fans, but it definitely does make you think and make you squirm a little bit, I would say. When you've got a questionable takeover like this, does it take away from potential future trophies is the question for me.
It's hard to say, because a guy can buy a club and buy all the players you need, but it might not click.
Because if we're going to talk about the Newcastle situation specifically, the ownership group that is taking over Newcastle is worth like 320 billion pounds. And that is 14 times more than the Manchester City ownership group, which is already the richest ownership group in the Premier League. So it's an absurd amount of wealth and money. Like, they will be able to bully the football market.
They still have to balance the books, so according to the financial fair play. So they just got to be careful about that, because they could just those bookmakers can just finish them off. So it's just
it's true, but even if you do play a fair game as far as financial fair play goes, you're still going to be able to build a squad that can compete and definitely make it into all the big competitions. So
100%.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of two separate issues, isn't there? There's the morality of like their past, and then there's the morality of, sort of, as Arsene Wenger used to say, financial doping, where you put a whole heap of money into a club, like as we've seen with Manchester City.
Would you sign for Newcastle if you're a player right now? If they were taken over? You live in good old Newcastle?
I need to get paid, so yeah.
But you look at like QPR and Blackburn, who had takeovers, and and then they were quite short-lived. Malaga as well in La Liga. So I would wait a couple of years.
To me, I mean, obviously this story is still evolving by the day, but it just seems like the amount of money and the political stature that these guys have, that if they do end up buying Newcastle, that they will be in it for the long run, and Newcastle definitely will be a fearsome side.
All right, now, because we always like a debate, we're gonna throw a few players up, and I'm gonna ask Ben and to sort of judge who would they rather have in their team. So the idea is that you can have one of these two players, and they join your club for 10 years. So you have the highs and the lows. So the two players are Diego Costa. So we're thinking of his Chelsea days. This is a Premier League player, and Fernando Torres. So you get Liverpool, but you also get Chelsea.
I can't believe this is about to come out of my mouth, man. But I think I'm going to say Diego Costa.
Oh wow, that's a big shout. Why?
I want to preface this argument that I'm about to dig myself into by saying he was one of the most hated players that I ever watched in the Premier League. But one of the reasons that I hated him was because he did do damage. I mean, every single time that he played Arsenal, he caused our back line some problems, and some big problems. But I think the longevity of Diego Costa, I mean, he kind of approaches every game the same from day to day. I think Torres kind of can have those off days where he's sort of invisible and floats around. Costa, even if he's not scoring goals, he's at least holding the ball up and he's getting in the defenders' heads.
Yeah, it's a fucking handful.
Creating opportunities for his teammates. So for that reason, I think Costa hurt teams in more ways than Fernando Torres, perhaps.
But as a manager, though, are you prepared to take all that luggage? He's a crazy guy. And in the dressing room, would you be prepared to – would you think as a man, if you were a manager, you'd be able to tame a Diego Costa? Because I certainly wouldn't.
I mean, I think if you're a manager in general, you have to be prepared to take on that type of personality. Mm-hmm. It's not just Costa. I would say almost every team has that type of hothead personality. I think it in some ways it can be a good thing for your team. Obviously, there's certain games that it can unravel. But I think that having that fiery personality can honestly be more of a benefit than a downside in most situations.
I would say in his defense also, by all accounts, not that I know anybody who's ever played with him, but by online accounts, that he was quite a likable character in the dressing room. I think his teammates definitely appreciate him if the fans do not.
I think where he can hurt you is his silliness on the pitch, as far as he can get kind of sucked into those little side battles with the center back where he's kicking and scratching and, pulling, doing all that bullshit. But
they can work to his advantage as well. I mean, I remember a game against Arsenal where he managed to get Gabriel sent off.
I remember that.
Yeah, he was a twat the whole game, but then it was Gabriel who lashed out. So,
honestly, he was the worst, man.
Yeah.
I'd definitely go for Torres, though, man. I'm sorry, Ben. Like, I think if you look at his career, okay, when he hit his prime, he hit his prime. I mean, at Liverpool, 81 goals, 20 assists. Those are good numbers. Chelsea, it didn't really work out for him because it was a different time when he was at Chelsea. But I think I'd rather have a more consistent 10 years than 3 good seasons in the 10 years. Am I talking about Costa or am I talking about Torres?
You're talking about Torres, bro. Torres.
Yeah, but I know,
Is
but
that
I'm
tea?
still
It's got-
saying like, yeah,
My rebuttal to that response is how many Premier League titles did Torres win? Because Costa's got 2.
I mean, are we gonna start judging players?
I will say with confidence that Costa was very heavily involved in both of those. I honestly don't know.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I mean, we shouldn't go down the rabbit hole of judging players about how many leagues they won. I think
I'm like a Liverpool fan.
it's like
an Arsenal fan, man. Come on.
No, but I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's just like Torres won a World Cup, bro. Like, it's you gotta put some respect on the guy's name. Like,
okay.
He won a World Cup, man.
Well, I mean,
and he won the Champions League as well.
If
Costa
with
Chelsea
was born maybe 5 years earlier, he may also have a World Cup under his belt. So
let's see.
He had his chance with Spain in the World Cup. He was toothless.
Who are you riding with for this one, man?
Fuck, I don't know. That's why I asked you guys. I would say, look, I did some research, and in terms of Premier League goals, Diego Costa has 52 Premier League goals in 89 appearances, which is a crazy record. And Torres has
89 appearances?
Yeah, only 89.
He has 89?
Yeah.
Wow, dude. For some reason, I thought he was in the league for longer than that.
I guess that's what, 3 seasons or so?
2 seasons?
It depends how many.
I mean, he probably had an injury spell in there here or there, but it was
maybe
definitely
2-3 seasons.
2 solid seasons.
And Torres
got rid of him.
Torres has 85 goals in 212 games. So Torres' goal per game record is a lot worse. But I wonder how high his was at Liverpool because he was scoring prolifically at that stage.
Well, he scored 65 goals for Liverpool. 65 goals and 16 assists.
Okay, so then he only managed 20 more and God knows how many more games for Chelsea. Yeah.
Is Fernando Torres overrated, guys?
It's so hard to say because some people.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He was amazing at Liverpool, though. He's one of the league's greatest. If he did a Suarez and left Liverpool and went to Barcelona, he would be remembered in the same esteem as Suarez.
He's got to perform at Barcelona for that to happen, man. He hasn't really performed elsewhere besides Liverpool, to be honest.
You're right.
He had the one big moment at Chelsea where they downed Barcelona, but that was honestly the setup more than the finish. So I don't know. Torres might be a fraud, guys.
It's a fraud. I think he's too good looking to be a number 9 anyway. I think he's got to have a bit of scars on you. He's got to be a bit more.
I've got a secondary side debate for you guys. Michael Owen or Fernando Torres? Liverpool at their peak. I'm talking peak Owen, peak Torres.
Peak Torres.
Owen won a Ballon d'Or, man.
Yeah, Owen's a Ballon d'Or winner. So.
Case closed.
Yeah.
Case closed. And he was very hard done by injuries. He had a shitload of injuries. But he's a Ballon d'Or winner.
What's the highest that Torres has finished in the Ballon d'Or? Do we know?
I don't have that information on the top of my head.
I thought
I'm like third in 2011. I wouldn't know, man. I mean,
if I hadn't had 5 Strongbows, I might be able to tell you, but
we don't have to include that one, man. I just thought that would be a good one, but it turned out to be not that good one.
Nah, I like it. To be honest, I do.
That's a bit of a cheek, actually, comparing Owen to Fernando Torres.
I don't know.
What's your respect on Owen, bro?
I think it would cause a couple of Liverpool fans to at least pause and think.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the problem was Owen peaked when I was still quite young, whereas Torres, I could watch him more. So I think I almost have an appreciation more for Torres because I was watching week in, week out. Whereas obviously for people of our age, Owen was at his peak, when we were still just starting to watch the game. So it's a bit of a different story.
I mean, it's the same for me, man. I mean, Owen was obviously at his peak when I was a very young age, but I do think that the good English strikers that we've seen over the years have been inflated as far as their playing ability, just because the press is insane. But
Owen scored 158 goals at Liverpool, man.
Yeah, no, but yeah, like in all this, he was prolific though. I think he would have had an amazing career, but for his injuries and maybe if he.
Owen or Harry Kane?
Peak Owen, obviously peak Owen is, but yeah.
Man, peak Harry Kane is ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, but
he's like one of the best. He's like one of the greatest goal scorers in Europe. A peak Harry Kane.
Yeah, but so was most.
Think about this. What if Harry Kane was playing for Liverpool now?
Yeah, it's true. He is playing for a dog shite team. So
yeah, but you can't say this Liverpool team because this Liverpool team don't play with the outright number 9, so it's hard to say.
True.
But like if you went to
what if he played for Chelsea, like in the Diego Costa role for Chelsea, man?
Oof, he would have won the league by now, bro. He won the league, gone to win the Euros with England. Like, man, he's you guys are Arsenal fan, but he's a very, very good striker. He's one of the best in Europe.
My point is, Michael Owen overrated. I'm kidding.
Right, Ben, I've got a question for you about 2 overrated players, okay? Who was better, Clint Dempsey or Landon Donovan?
Man, what kind of fucked up shit is that, dude? You think both those players are overrated?
Huh? No, I don't.
Both those players are overrated? I mean, Clint Dempsey is my boy, man. I'll rock with Clint Dempsey till I die. I'm gonna shout out an article from the Athletic that came out maybe a week and a half ago about Clint Dempsey. Tells some really interesting stories because there's not a lot out there about the guy.
What about the rapper?
He was a really feisty locker room presence. A lot of people didn't realize that. Almost like obviously I don't want to say a Michael Jordan type character from a playing perspective, but definitely from a mentality perspective. I'm a big Clint Dempsey guy, and he proved it at the highest level in the Premier League, whereas Landon Donovan only had a couple of short stints at Everton. So, Clint Dempsey.
Fair enough.
Who do you guys think is the greatest injury-prone player ever?
What do you mean? Like the best player who was always
Abu Diaby.
Yeah.
Jack Wilshere, easy. Wilshere would have been the greatest player in the world by now.
I remember when Jack Wilshere at 18 or 19
spun
Barcelona.
18 ran the show.
And then Pep Guardiola in the press conference was like, he's fantastic, but he got 20 of those.
I wanted to murder Pep when he said that. I've never.
He's right though. Man.
He was wrong, bro. He was wrong. Because Wilshere would have been amazing, but for injuries and also.
The types of players that he's talking about are like the Ceballos,
exactly.
Would Wilshere get into this Arsenal team?
What, in this midfield ahead of Xhaka? Maybe. But I don't know because you have the 18-year-old Wilshere who was honestly one of the best. Like I know I overhyped him in the
on one night on a Tuesday, yeah.
But then you have the Wilshere who's been, the Wilshere we know who is unfit, and when he comes back he's not quite there. So it's hard.
I'll never forget one of the saddest things ever. I was at a Tottenham game, and he was playing against. He was playing. Was it Bournemouth?
What was he? Yeah, I was there. I was in the Bournemouth away end.
Really?
Yeah.
And he broke his leg.
Yes.
And the whole stadium started chanting, "It's happened again."
Yes.
It was the most.
I was so angry. I was so angry.
It's ridiculous.
Do you know, I only went there because I'm an Arsenal fan and I live in Bournemouth, so I got tickets. So I went away to watch Jack Wilshere play at Tottenham. And yeah, I didn't know he'd obviously broken his leg at the time, but he was injured. You could tell it was bad, and
Football fans have no.
That's the type of thing that'll have you scrapping outside the stadium, man.
Yeah.
Not to condone violence in any way to our listeners, but
Yeah, I don't think the Champagne podcast promotes violence.
Yeah, man. Violence and alcohol. That's the tagline.
And tea. I might get you a tea. I might get you a tea sponsor now. That's more PC.
I don't even drink tea.
do you have any more of these comparisons, Hal?
Jamie Vardy or Carlos Tevez? It's kind of confusing.
Personal love of Vardy, I've got to go Vardy, but that's just like I've got this weird obsession with Vardy. So
yeah, I feel like everybody loves Vardy, so try and remove the emotional element because my heart says Vardy.
Do you like Vardy though? Do you like him as a person?
I like Vardy as a person. Yes,
I like him. Yeah, he's like an iconic Premier League character.
I love the way that when he's 5 feet out, he just shuts his eyes and shoots it as hard as he can, no matter what.
Yeah, he's good for the league, man. You need those sort of personalities.
I think I'd rather go for Vardy though, because if I was a mid-table team and I had this guy for 10 years and in the beginning of his career he's not that good, but he ends up being a league winner.
Yeah.
And he's consistent in the last 3 or 4 seasons. He's been consistently good, bagging 15, 17 goals a season. I'd definitely go for Vardy over Tevez, man.
Yeah, but look at Tevez. I mean, he came into West Ham, saved them from relegation. Went to Manchester United, was brilliant with United. Probably won the league. I don't know, but I think
Alex Bartlett will kill me if I said that. If he heard me say Vardy instead of Tevez. But I don't, man. I don't remember watching Tevez that much. Like growing up in South Africa, I don't remember watching Tevez. I don't remember him.
that much. He was great, and then he moved to City and was also great for them. Obviously,
I do remember him in City though.
Yeah.
I will say I'm really attracted to the big emotional significant celebrations. And I don't know if you guys have seen the pictures or videos of Boca Juniors' recent league title, but they essentially won on the last day of the season through a Carlos Tevez goal in the 20th minute, and his celebration was unreal. Climbing up the nets at the Boca Juniors home stadium, man. The La Bombonera going absolutely nuts, man. So it's a tough choice, man, but Jamie Vardy just got that something special, man. He's got the storyline. I love him to death, so I got to go.
I love a good story, man.
Yeah, I got Vardy as well.
Yeah.
Would you guys rather have I'm always in this debate with myself that if I was a manager or whatever, if for my team, would I rather have a very good holding midfielder, between protects the back four, can spray it a bit, or would you have a fantastic number 10 who will create goals for you, get in the box, score, create, do all sorts? What's your guys' thoughts on that? Would you rather have a deep lying playmaker, or it's just a number 10 that's just phenomenal?
This is a great question because Arsenal had that sort of predicament for a while, for so long, when we had Cesc Fabregas as the creator, but we never really consistently found the sort of replacement for somebody like Gilberto Silva, who used to sort of, we had Vieira, who was more box to box, but we never had that defensive cover in midfield for a prolonged amount of time. So I actually need to think about this a little longer. Ben, thoughts?
I mean, from an Arsenal perspective, we've been lacking a true holding midfielder for the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, who was our last true, Premier League level holding midfielder?
It's tricky because we had Coquelin for a little bit, who's not remembered so fondly, but he was very good as a sort of double pivot alongside Cazorla, and he did the defense.
I think back to that Manchester City game in 2014, or maybe it was 2015.
Yeah, one of those.
He showed glimpses, but especially the past 5 years, if you don't have a holding midfielder, your midfield is wide open and just ready to get destroyed by these Premier League teams.
We have Lucas Torreira now, who's shown signs of it, but with how turbulent our club has been, he's not really been able to settle as much as we would have liked him to have done. So you could look at Torreira, but I mean the problem is
Emery didn't play him correctly either. He was never really played in that true holding defensive role, I would say. He was a lot of times Emery kind of had him in more of an attacking role, which didn't make any sense.
nah, but it's just so hard because if you kind of need both, or well, I don't know, Yuppie, what do you feel?
I think it just depends on, because like for Arsenal, for example, they could play a 4-3-3 with Torreira, for example, as a holding midfielder, or Guendouzi or Xhaka. But what happens to Ozil?
That's the thing, right? You need the balance.
Or you could play.
The answer is simple, bro. Especially from a Barcelona fan's perspective, man. Would you rather have Busquets or Coutinho?
Busquets.
Every single day. Okay, but Busquets or Iniesta. There's a problem, right? Because
I don't really consider Iniesta an out-and-out like attacking midfielder, man.
But the difficult thing is Iniesta was fantastic because he had Xavi.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, would I rather have a number 8 or number 6? I'm gonna say Busquets again.
Bro, and Iniesta is an alien, by the way. I don't think Busquets or Coutinho can be considered like out of this world like Iniesta was. So I think that was a bit of an unfair comparison, Hal.
I think Busquets is one of the greatest midfielders of all time.
I don't think that Busquets quite hits that alien factor like
he does.
Iniesta. I do think that Busquets is probably one of the most valuable players that you guys have had in the past 10 years.
Man, the thing about him, like, the thing I love so much, he looks so slow, man. He looks like he's not interested, but he just makes it all tick. I love that man.
Yeah, but it's funny because you talk about Busquets as like a sort of a defensive player. He's not necessarily known for like, hard tackling and that. It's like him and like Kante. Like when you think of Kante, his role, like they're completely different. But that's how I think of a holding.
And I'll still have Busquets over Kante as well.
Yeah,
bro, that's okay. Well, I don't know if I agree with that, but I will say I think that part of the holding midfield role is to be able to string the defense with the attack, if that makes sense.
And I think that's
have that unlock ability with your passing, which I think does have.
And that's what Kante doesn't have. Like, he wins the ball, and then what?
Yeah, but if you have good enough players around him, then you don't need him to do. Then what? If you have Danny Drinkwater next to him, then what? Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, he can just spray it out to Christian Fuchs, and they'll be good.
That's why he has Jorginho playing with him.
Yeah. But now, to answer your question, I think for me personally, the way I enjoy football, I think I need the attacking midfielder. Maybe that's just because I grew up on Cesc Fabregas, But I'm not saying you're gonna win shit, but I'm gonna enjoy.
This is my counter to that, Hal.
Yep.
We've had Ozil for how long now?
Yeah, 8, 7.
I don't think anybody can debate that man is, or at least was at the beginning of his Arsenal career, a world-class attacking midfielder.
Yep.
But if you don't have that rock in your midfield, if you don't have that person that can break up attacks and then spring your own attack, it kind of all falls to shit.
Yeah, but couldn't you argue the same that if you have the defensive midfielder but nobody creative to then spark the attack? Or you don't think so?
I think with Ozil, the most important thing is he's a counter-attacking player. You guys know this as well. When Arsenal are flowing, Ozil is at his best. And that's why many times I think at Madrid when Mourinho would, in the big games, he always hooked Ozil off because he knew that he would be out of the game if they had to defend for long periods of time. But I think if the game was open, he's absolutely phenomenal. The flicks, the passing and moving, he's very, very world class.
I mean, I'm on board with that, Inam, but I just want to respond to Hal's question there. And my rebuttal to that would be Liverpool's current midfield three: Fabinho, Wijnaldum, and Henderson. Is there a true attacking midfielder in that three?
No, I see your point.
But they don't use that's the thing though. They don't play through the middle. They play on their wings.
I mean, their
you
advantage
even
is
need an attacking midfielder in today's game.
No, but like Trent
No,
Alexander.
you do.
Is
Why
their
you
creative
not? You
hub.
do.
So
Firmino can play that role.
Exactly.
yeah.
He can link the midfield and the attack without even being in the midfield.
You can have a false nine, huh? What about
No, I just want a Cam. I just want that center.
that?
I just want him.
Hal just wants a Dennis Bergkamp, man.
I just want Ozil.
I want peak Cesc Fabregas.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's just
Peak
Yeah.
Cesc or peak Ozil?
Peak Cesc. I love Ozil. Don't make me. But Fabregas was it. Fabregas
Peak Cesc, man.
he would win a game, by himself, take him by the scruff of the neck. Ozil can do that, but not in the same
If you
manner.
had come to me 2 years ago, I would have said Ozil. I've kind of soured on Ozil slightly.
I still have a lot of love for Ozil. I don't forget how good he is. But I'm concerned this is turning into a bit of an Arsenal podcast. Although not too worried.
Imagine my shock. Who do you guys think is the Arsenal snitch? Which player do you think is leaking all the information in the media? This could be tough on you, Hal, but I need you to be honest with me.
It is very complicated. I think it's weird because there are a few situations. So like we have Aubameyang as a club captain who's going to be on his way out potentially. I don't know for sure, but I've seen this happen enough times at Arsenal, and I have that feeling in my stomach that he won't be an Arsenal player for in 18 months' time. And also you have Hector Bellerin, who's been the communicator for the players, not the club captain Aubameyang. So I'm not saying that points a finger at Aubameyang, but I know he's a high earner, So I think if there's, I don't like to answer this question, Yuppie. You've asked me a very difficult question. But yeah, if I had to say somebody, maybe Aubameyang, maybe it comes from his camp. He's got a big entourage. Remember his brother was talking shit about Arteta before Arteta took over the manager. So there's a bit of extra there. Ben,
what do you think, Ben?
I've got an off-the-wall suggestion for this one, man.
Willock.
Nah, man. It's somebody that came into the club recently in January, and all the more reason for him to stir up some bullshit within the club. He's stirring the pot right now. I can feel it from the inside. He's the rat. He's the mole. It's Cedric. What does he have to lose? How many Portuguese players do we have on the team? He has no real relationships in the squad. He's been here a couple of months. He sees his opportunity to kind of, I don't know, just create havoc and undermine Ozil in some way. I think that Cedric is potentially bringing the club down from the inside.
Man, he's been sent in by Hassan Hootel.
Sent in by Jose Mourinho himself, the Portuguese.
On a serious note, though, Hal, and this goes to you, Ben, as well. If Aubameyang leaves in the summer, has he had a successful time at Arsenal or no?
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. You look at like Mark Overmars, who played for only a couple of years. He's still remembered quite highly. Aubameyang scored.
Yeah, but Overmars was a fantastic for Holland as well and for Juventus.
Yeah.
I mean, not Juventus. Ajax. Sorry.
Ajax and Barcelona, but yeah, Aubameyang was brilliant for Dortmund for so many years. I think he'll go down as one of the game's best ever strikers. But it'll just be short and sweet,
Well,
look at his goal scoring record. Look at his goal scoring record.
Before Inam can respond to that, let me. I want to throw in. I want to turn Inam's thinking back on himself. He said earlier in this podcast that I couldn't say that Diego Costa was better than Fernando Torres because he won two titles. So we're going to leave the titles out of this completely. If you look just at his goal scoring record and what he did with the squad that he had, I think Aubameyang's been an immense success.
Well,
he's been our only good player for the last 18 months, 2 years.
Well, I don't think you guys lack quality. I just think you guys don't have the right mix and the right chemistry. Because man, look at you got Pepe for 70 million. I watch Arsenal quite a lot. I mean, they're not shit.
No.
They play shit, but they're not shit players.
Yeah. But I think that's to why how good Aubameyang's been then, because like you're right, we've got decent players, but we've had like Emery was a mess. Like that was like this season. Last season was okay, just this season was fucking abominable. And Aubameyang's playing out of position, left wing. He's never played there before. Suddenly he's put into a new league where people say it takes time to adjust, and he's scored almost every week since being in this league. So.
The thing about a good football team is you have to have a good spine, man. You look at Barcelona. We just talked earlier in this podcast about how they've got Messi, Busquets, and Piqué. These guys have been there forever. They make up the spine of the team. They are the identity, really, of the team. And Arsenal really don't have that spine. We've got a good front line. Our midfield is, we don't really know what's going to happen game to game with that. And then the back line speaks for itself. So if you don't have that spine, if you don't have that core of players that you can really rely on, what can the striker really do on his own?
Would you be willing to sacrifice Lacazette for Aubameyang to play down the middle?
I don't mind Aubameyang playing on the wing. I mean, it's never stopped him. I'd rather Aubameyang play in the middle if it meant we had a better wide man coming, like Saka or Martinelli, but I don't have a problem with Aubameyang playing down the wing if the system suits to have Lacazette there. If Lacazette's on form, playing well.
See, for me, I'm a huge Lacazette guy, so this is like an existential question for me. Man, it's so tough to say. I would personally say no. The reason why I say that is because Aubameyang's record at Arsenal doesn't decline from the wide position. I think that his scoring record stays pretty much around the same level, no matter what position he plays, whether it's on the wing or in the central role. So I think that if you can play Lacazette and Aubameyang together, it's actually a good thing.
Ben, let me ask you one last question before we go, because it's getting late. In 18 months' time, we're not going to have both Aubameyang and Lacazette. I'm sorry, I just don't think that's going to happen.
I would agree.
So who not who is going to go, but who would you let go? Bearing in mind that if we keep Aubameyang, we're going to have to give him a big Mesut Ozil-esque contract.
So you're saying, so is the real question here Aubameyang or Lacazette? You have to choose one and cut the other.
Yep.
Dude, it's tough to say, man. I don't see Aubameyang's goal-scoring record decreasing in the next 3 years. So I've got to say Aubameyang, man. Lacazette, I want to preface this. Lacazette is one of my favorite players at Arsenal, so this really hurts me to say this, but if you chose Aubameyang over Lacazette, you don't understand football in any way.
I mean, the other way around.
Yeah. I think it's the other way around.
If you chose Lacazette over Aubameyang, you don't understand football in any way.
There it is.
What a man.
The listeners, that clapping noise was Ben trying to cut.
Hal, you're going to have to work some editing magic over that.
Yeah. I think Ben went too crazy in the Chardonnay.
So we've had a lot of good debate this time round. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening. Thanks for being on the pod, Yappy.
Thank you so much, bro. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, next time bring a fucking drink maybe. But, and yeah, Ben, as ever, thanks for coming on.
Yep, appreciate it. It's always good to be on here. And thanks to Yappy as always. Great chat.
All right, take care, guys.